Well, folks, as we all know, no one wants to feel left out, unwelcomed, or isolated. We all want to be accepted. We want to be safe. We want to matter in our community, regardless of what that community is, be it a family or college, or maybe it's a job. Now, since COVID, many people, particularly students, I'm finding, are feeling they don't belong. Now, this feeling of isolation is not a healthy or a positive situation. But Whitworth College, a small private liberal arts school in Spokane, Washington, is doing something about this. Let's find out how. My guest today is Rhosetta Rhodes, and she is the Vice President of Student Life and the Dean of Students. And she has created, and continues to create an environment of belonging, which is very, very impressive. So, Rhosetta, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. When we spoke a couple of weeks ago, you had mentioned that since COVID, since the end of COVID, there's been both an education and a social disruption. What are you seeing? What did you see?
Well, we are seeing learning disruptions and social disruptions. So, with students having been pretty much home, we noticed that grades aren't necessarily consistent across the board. So, one thing. So, for example, um, in this school, in this particular area, does not necessarily equate to an A from this school in this particular area. And
Mm-hmm.
so we are working to try to help students almost relearn how to learn and what they've learned previously. So, there was one theory that students would do well with virtual education because they are so tech savvy, but that hasn't necessarily played out. And once again, I believe that it's because they've been in primarily isolated environments, etc., for what, 2 to 3 years. And
Right.
then coming back in higher ed, we're expecting them to, pick up the pace and um, move along as normal, as usual. But we're finding that that's not necessarily the case. And so they understand social media and apps, but virtual educated stunted many students academically. We discovered more students were struggling when they finally returned to campus. Things like how to interact in a classroom, engaging with professors, collaborating with other students, etc. So they missed many important life events socially. There was no homecoming, no
Right.
prom, social school musicals, extracurricular activities, and graduations. And so these are critical milestones and experiences that were taken away as a result of COVID, and it impacts self-worth, self-esteem, and fosters an I'm not good enough belief.
I can imagine that. It's between the ages. I raised two daughters alone between the ages of 13 and 18. That's when they develop. That's all their other and their social life is everything.
Yes, yes. And also we noticed that when the students returned, engagement wasn't as easy for them, nor was it as desirable for the students. And so we're rethinking engagement and trying to figure out how to help students connect with each other a little bit better. They were within homogenous type communities and were not able to connect with people who may have been different than them before. And so we're finding that once again, we're having to concentrate on prescribed and intentional ways to help students communicate, connect, and interact with each other.
It's almost a relearning process.
Yes, yes, very much.
Absolutely. Now, you're a small school. So when you had all this disruption and all this isolation, what kind of impact did it have on your recruiting and your retention? Did students stay?
Um, Recruitment nationwide has been a challenge for higher ed, et cetera. And I'm not so sure how to connect that necessarily to COVID, except that maybe students are, or incoming students are not as sure what to look for anymore. The high schools provided a very beneficial and effective way for students to better understand what's happening in college when they go, what to expect, the differences between high school and college. And so when they weren't necessarily in school, there was some of that, I think, as the schools tried to connect with the students while they were home. But we're seeing where the students are not as prepared as they were prior to COVID. So what we've done for that is we've increased our learning needs programs. For example, we've increased tutoring. Uh, we've um, we've looked and talked to students about that. We have e-tutoring as well as one-on-one tutoring, and we've also had supplemental instruction. We've added study buddy program, which I'm quite proud of, to where we connect students with a buddy, someone maybe they haven't known before, to study with. That program seems to be working very well, and students are meeting friends, long life friends,
Hmm.
um, through the study buddy program. Someone that they can really connect with while studying and socially outside of that. We've also, we still provide success coaches, student success coaches, and the need for that and the demand for for a success coach has increased exponentially after COVID. And what that program does is it helps students who are struggling, whether academically or not, to connect with resources and what they may need to be able to be successful in education. It results in 1 full point increase in their GPA, 1 full point in their GPA.
Wow,
Yes, and so
that's
it's very,
impressive.
yeah, we like to think so. And also at this point, I do want to make sure everyone who's listening or who may listen in the future understands that it's not me doing all this work. It's the student life team and then faculty as well, trying to work together to figure out what's best for the student. So we're very proud of the student success coach program, but there are more and more need for it because of its success. I mean, if I wasn't doing well, why wouldn't I want to take advantage of an offering that almost guarantees that I'm going to do well? With that, we also, for students who are struggling and maybe on academic warning or probation, they are required to have a success coach now. And we are seeing students improve in a way where they won't have to go on academic suspension. And viewing those skills that we've provided, and thinking about the ways that they should concentrate on their schoolwork, the ways in which that's going to be effective for them. And so the skills are being incorporated and the skills are being utilized even when they finish the time period to have a success coach. So we're thankful for that as well. Financially, the state of Washington makes funding available for private schools, which isn't the case in most states or many
Right.
states. But Washington state does understand that there's a significant number of students who go to private schools, who attend private schools. And so the money follows the student. And so we do have funding from Washington State, which helps. And it has allowed us to have a human needs assistance program. There's a lending library where students could borrow rather than buy their school books. We all know how expensive books are.
Yes.
We have food banks where students could pick up a meal, but we also have a nutrition center to where students are able to, we have a meal and they're able to pick up the ingredients for that meal, and it's
Mhm.
nutritional. And so they can get that as well. We've developed relationships with companies like J.C. Penney to donate clothing gift cards so students have proper attire for job interviews and work. We have a general help a pirate program because we are the Whitworth Pirates. And through this program, students are able to get smaller, incremental financial assistance without going through financial aid. So, for example, if your car, something is happening to your car and you just need monies to get the car fixed so that you can make it back and forth to school and other school activities, then you can go through the Help a Pirate program. If you need, of course, monies for food, clothing, if you need monies to help you, I don't know, with rent maybe this month or something like that, we have that Help a Pirate program where you can come and apply and receive funds that are smaller amounts, um, which cause a student to have to drop out for that,
Right,
small amount. And we help with that as well. Yeah, what we're looking at is Maslow's hierarchy,
right,
right? And they are the basic levels, the basic needs of every human being. Um, those things are determinants to educational success. And so we have found that we need to take a look at that, take a look at those needs as well to help the students be able to concentrate better on their educational endeavors. Now,
well,
oh, okay.
oh, go ahead,
The,
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, the belonging program, which once again is not necessarily my idea, but I definitely jumped on this bandwagon. We have other folks who are working as teams, and we've got the campus so involved in helping our students understand that they belong here. It's important for students to feel that they belong and that they fit, or they may give up on school. And so college is more than just grades, and we want to provide life experiences such as how to budget, pay bills, interacting with their families, so both the student and family understand how they can provide support for each other, um, as well as helping the students incorporate skills so that they know what to do when I may not feel like I belong right now. There are so many resources that are available, and I'm sure not just at Whitworth University, but students sometimes need help even accessing those resources. And belonging does help the student understand that accessing resources is not a bad thing and does not have a negative stigma to it. It just means that you care enough about yourself and that there are others who care as much about you as you do, and that we're coming together to make sure you have what you need to be successful. And that has changed since COVID. Some of those needs have changed um, since COVID. And so a lot of these programs and things that we're trying to implement and have implemented are a result of the needs from the students,
Mhm.
as they have articulated and as we have seen.
You say one of the things you didn't mention the word, but there's an awful lot of, for lack of a better word, mental health
Yes,
needs because
yes,
students feel overwhelmed and frustrated, or they don't know what they don't know where to go. Is that
yes,
right?
yes. And with our climate, um, it has changed a little bit. Spokane used to always have sunlight. And if you had sunlight in the winter, it was freezing. But
Yes.
yeah, but now it's a little bit more overcast more regularly. And so that seasonal affect is very real here. And students encounter that. Many students don't know that or know that we also have um, solutions to help overcome seasonal, excuse me, to help overcome seasonal affect. such as the lamps, the focus
Mm-hmm.
on vitamin D, and trying to provide different avenues where you can get vitamin D, etc. But mental health is a very significant determinant of educational success. And unfortunately, many of our students are dealing with anxiety, and
Yes.
students deal with depression and other things and aren't quite sure what to do about it unless they just go to the counseling center, which is great. And we do push that very much, where we offer um, 10 sessions, of course, at no cost to the student. And if there's more needed, then we either try to do it ourselves or we refer it to the community, outside community, to the mental health system in Spokane. Um, and so the first year students, we try to, again, they drink almost from a water hose. And
Exactly.
yeah, and so we have to keep doing it year round in trying to help them understand the additional resources that we have. We have a 24/7 um, opportunity for students to receive counseling. And we partner with a national organization. But when they dial phone number for the counseling center, a person answers,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what time of day or night it is, regardless of what day. And we have licensed counselors on the other end to where the student can get help right then and there. If that counselor believes that we need to follow up, then they flag it and put a little note on there, follow up with this student. And the very next morning, that student gets a phone call from those in the actual counseling center. Or if it's so dire, then the service will actually refer the student to downtown counselors, or to a hospital or something, and they will then take care of the student. We have a relaxation center. It's so cool. There's massage chairs in there and those little egg pod things, and
Yes.
the Zen kind of music and just different things to help students relax. You just walk in. I need
Mm-hmm.
to relax. I need to de-escalate or something. And counseling offices are um, within that relaxation center as well. We have group therapy, and we have what we call less talk, where students just come in and there are other students there, but you get to talk about whatever you want to talk about and try to find solutions if you don't want to go through counseling sessions. And those group sessions are based on what we're seeing students come in for when they enter the counseling center. We're doing everything we can, as I know everyone else is, to help with the mental health issue that we're dealing with. We have psychiatric NPs who can administer medications and help students, but the percentage of students who are coming into college that have counseling therapists and are on medications consistently increases.
Wow.
And so, yeah, they're coming into school. And so we're doing the best we can to try to help continue that, and maybe even help interrupt that upward trajectory so that students can not only get through school, but have those skills and abilities to de escalate for themselves and to understand, wait a minute, this is starting to happen for me. What kinds of things do I do to make sure that I can, take care of this, manage this?
Right.
So that's a definitely a priority for us. And we administer a well-being survey um, to assess how our students are doing. And whereas it's not where we want it to be, 80% of our students say that they are doing well. And this is based on quite a bit of data that we're collecting from the students in regards to elements of well-being. And then when we do the analysis, we're able to determine how our students are doing. And again, not where we want it to be, but it was at 80%. So we're
80% is not too bad.
yeah,
You're
that's why I
trending.
said it. I didn't want people to think not where you want it to be. Are you talking 20% are doing well? No, it's 80%. And but we want it, obviously better. We have a higher goal than that. We do work hard at trying to make sure we're going to meet students' needs and not just let's do something right now, but we look beyond the right now. How do we help this student be able to take better control of things that they're dealing with, etc., for the future?
It's outstanding. You also had some social programs. You mentioned to me you have a president's coffee. What's that
Yes,
about?
yes. The President's Coffee is an opportunity for staff to come together and hear about what's going on, maybe share things that we are doing um, to that are relevant to staff, even regarding students, etc., and to give staff an opportunity um, to basically hear or express ideas, and it's all led by the president. So they have an opportunity to interface with the president regarding things that are happening in their areas, things that they see, etc. So it's during the coffees, it's where we have the opportunity to talk most about belonging efforts as well. That's where we have that opportunity to share those things and to try to equip staff to help students feel as if they belong, to feel like they belong here. And it's about being seen, being heard, and being valued as your authentic selves. And so we engage with social bonding for the first year belonging retreats. Social bonding helps you to bond with those who are most like you. Social bridging helps you to bond with people or get to know people who are that you consider different than you. And then, so social bonding, social bridging, and then the skills to help you to figure out what can I do when I'm feeling like I'm not fitting here. This isn't it. And we ascertained what we needed based on data from students themselves. We analyzed data from exit surveys. So when the students um, were leaving the university, why? And we found out nothing new there. It's the financials, it's the academic preparedness, and there was a thing where they kept saying fit.
Good.
It doesn't fit. I don't fit in here. And so as we thought about that, we felt like maybe that's belonging. For some reason, I don't fit. For some reason, I don't belong. And that's when we decided to implement the belonging initiative that we have, which has been going very well, by the way. And so as we looked at that, the residence hall, as part of the belonging initiatives, decided that they were going to go back to basics. And they went back to Aston's theory of involvement. And what
Mhm.
that means simply is that we help all our first year students to find two Whitworth friends. So we don't actually physically go around like, here, this could be
Here,
your
get you
friend.
two
You
together.
could be your friend. But we we do talk to them about how do you make friends? How do you know that a person could be your friend? But there's a there's an emphasis on finding two friends and then connecting to something you're passionate about. And we're
Mhm.
up into the 90 to 95% of our first year students find that. And our retention rates increase um, from 77% up to 80. and we're still climbing. And this was because of the entire campus effort to try to help these students in targeted ways based on data that we received. And something else that's interesting that happened is we didn't just ask the students or analyze the data for why they were leaving. We also asked the question, why are they staying?
Art.
And yeah, and so we looked and we sort of surveyed students in a simplistic manner, but why are you still here? And we had stories of students saying, I was going to leave, but I then connected with faculty. I was going to leave, but I then connected with friends. I was going to leave, but. And so we took all the buts
Mm-hmm.
and looked at, these are the things we need to concentrate on, making sure that we don't lose these things so that the students would stay. And it was connections with faculty and staff and students, and certain activities and things that we found that they like. And so we put all of that together to formulate our strategies for keeping students with us and helping them to do well while they are here.
Wow, it's quite a program you put together. The You also mentioned you'll bring on outside speakers because sometimes you get tunnel vision here there. Here's somebody from the outside telling you, here's the importance of relationships. This is what it's like in between theory and reality. Once you get into the working world, people call it the real world, but it's a real world in
It's
college
real
too.
here too.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And those things are so critical. And one of the
Yes.
things, Rosetta, I've spoken to a number of other colleges, and some of them have said, some of the bigger schools have said, 80% of their students prefer virtual, online college rather than in person. What's happening at your place?
Yeah. I think I mean, I can't argue with that. I can't
Right.
argue with that. But our students were more inclined to want the in-person education. They wanted to be in class. Um they didn't find the virtual experience as helpful to them. And I think that's from some of the programs and the types of programs we offer. But, a large part of it is our professors' primary focus on high touch teaching and not research. We were named and still are, we've been named again the number one teaching school in the West. And so it involves, professors are eating lunch with students. They're connecting with them outside of the class a great deal. We have a Dine in Mind program to where the university funds for the students to purchase coffee or tea or a meal for our professors with our professors so they can go out and dine together and they talk about all kinds of things or anything they want to talk about. But that's indicative of the high touch we have with staff as well. And so we haven't had that experience where the majority of our students want the virtual experience. As a matter of fact, our online program isn't nearly as significant for us, whereas online for other schools is huge. And that's
Right.
primarily because our students are wanting to connect more with the faculty and the staff that are here. And if you recall, I mentioned with the belonging, it was the same thing. Why are you staying? I was going to leave, but this happened. I thought this place isn't necessarily going to be for me, and then I connected. And so I think that connection piece is much larger than we give credit. We give it credit in higher ed institutions. However, I also understand realities of finances these days that, you know, everyone isn't able to provide that.
Hmm.
And with the larger schools, it's going to take quite a bit of intentionality and strategizing to be able to figure out how you could connect with the students on an individual basis, on a very small group basis, um, regularly
Absolutely.
enough, to make a difference. Yeah.
I love what you just said there. One of my daughters went to a very large research university, and she said that the professor whose name is on the class is rarely here. I interact with a TA who's maybe 2 years older than I am and probably 3 pages ahead of me in the book, right? And she said it's almost like a degree factory at some schools
Hmm.
where your program is, let's make it, this is a complete experience. This is building relationships that are going to last a lifetime. This is how to be successful. And I love the fact that the professors are so engaged and so such high touch.
Oh yeah, and the professors and staff are just as committed to the students' success as the students and their parents are. Also, another thing I'd like to throw in there is um, we've heard the terms helicopter parents and those kinds of things, but
Yes,
what we've learned is you have to partner with the family. You have to partner with the parents for the student's success. And we do that. Now we employ developmental tools for our students. In other words, they've got to learn responsibility and accountability and those kinds of things. However, if the parent is concerned about something, or if the student is asking the parent about something, we tell the parent, call us. And then we will
mm,
converse with the parent and talk with the parent regarding here's what you should tell your student to do, so that we are partners in helping those students to develop and understand responsibility and how to take care of things themselves. Um, and then they convey to the student, and then the student actually does it. And so we can't leave out that fact, the parental factor at all. But yeah, it's a dance, isn't it, Frank?
it is. It's
Where
intense.
we're doing the best we can, and resources. I just don't want anyone listening to think that I'm not cognizant of the fact of how we're able to do it versus some of the other schools. I also want everyone to understand that research is a big part of our portfolio as well. But again, it's teaching is our number one um, purpose here.
Exactly. I
Hmm.
love the fact of bringing the parents in because many of your students, from what I've read, are first generation.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
the parents don't have a clue what's going to go on either. So they're
Mhm.
lost, the students lost, but the
Exactly.
parent desperately, most cases, the parent desperately wants that student to make it, correct?
Exactly. Exactly. And yet, um, we cannot afford to forget the importance of our families, right? And we all will always connect to family. And so I've come through 12 years of education where I couldn't do anything unless my parent, especially educationally, unless my parent signed off on it because I was underage. And now you send me to, um, you know, university, and the parent can't get involved at all, and that's just a serious break in that flow, in that connection. And so we partner with our parents. We are still committed to the developmental stages that a college student goes through while they're in school, and we want them to take responsibility. We want them to understand how to figure out what's best for them, but that parent is still very important to their success. And so, and with first generation parents, they're not knowing, right? And so we're helping them as well to understand higher ed, and then be able to converse with the student and to be able to continually help the student and connect.
That's such an important thing. I was a first generation student, and my parents were supportive, but they had no idea what it took and what school was like, and getting to and from class, and how do
Mm-hmm.
you talk to a professor and all that kind of stuff. So I applaud you. You're doing so many amazing things,
Thank
Rosetta.
you.
Now, of all the things that you've done, and you've talked about a bunch of them, is there any one that makes you the most proud?
Um, having having a team that as I mentioned before, is so committed to student success and is so committed to the individual student who understands what it's like to be a first generation student, or who understands the difficulty in sometimes in connecting with people who are different from you, or who understands that students have to actually enjoy being here, and
Yes,
um, who understands the importance of working together, and that together is better, as they're starting to say. Um, I'm rather proud of that, because that's the only way we're able to make it. And also understanding their particular discipline, they are very competent. Um, I'm proud of that. I'm also proud of belonging. I mean, there's so many things I'm proud of, but I'm also
exactly.
proud of belonging. As I mentioned, I'm not the one just doing belonging, but I'm always talking about it. But
Right.
I'm proud of how that has caught on at the university, and how people have the flexibility to be able to implement something on their own. They don't have to go through us. They can implement something on their own that's going to be helpful to the students. And we serve as resources, right? And
Right.
we're putting things out there. We're having these belonging luncheons. Um, we're trying to put together enough funding so that we can offer grants for the Whitworth community to be able to say, hey, if I had this much money, I could, we could do this or that. And so spreading it around, that's what I'm most proud of, that we've been able to spread that around. Um, yeah, and
It's,
I'm proud of our process. I'm proud of the way we view students as students, and we understand determinants of effective and successful education. But we also know that helping students looks a little differently than like when I came through school. And since I'm on radio, I'll just let everybody know I'm a prodigy. I'm like 5 years old or something. But that we 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 pay attention to the student, and we've never forgotten that we're an educational institution, even though we provide quite a few social services per se. We're a Christian university as well. And so that sort of adds a different dimension to some of the things we're doing. But yeah, I'm just so proud of this university and the people that work here.
and it comes across. It comes across that you're proud. It almost seems, Rosetta, that you're recruiting, looking for a certain type of student, but you're also recruiting for a certain type of staff. So it's not just credentials. It's,
Yeah,
do they fit?
yes, yes. Do they fit? How competent are they at their particular in their particular disciplines? And do they have the heart to work with the students in the way that we would um, hope they'd work with the students? One, as part of our mission, we provide an education of mind and heart. And yeah, and our staff and our faculty exhibit that mind and heart. We provide an excellent education, but we also look at you with our hearts, and how do we help you figure it out? I mean, there's so many things that the faculty and staff do here that would be considered above and beyond.
Hmm. That's
And
incredible.
it's a wonderful place to be.
I think this having a heart for students
Yes,
is a perfect title for
you
what it is
have
you've
to.
done. Have
You
to be.
have to.
Well, we're just about out of time here. What last thoughts, Rosetta, do you want to leave with the world?
Wow. I'd like to for the world to know that whereas you can't do everything, there are things you can do that's going to make such a significant difference for your students and ourselves. If we don't have the students doing well, we might as well close shop. And I just want the world to know that you may not be able to do some of the things we're doing, but we aren't able to do some of the wonderful things that some of the other schools are doing as well. So we
Hmm.
find a niche and we do it very well. And it's going to show um, by the success of our students. But that mind and heart education, um, yeah, I just, for us, I don't see any other way.
Exactly. It's tremendous. How do people reach you? Because a lot of people are going to want to talk to you now.
Uh, um, let's see. If you email is fine, and are you? That's RRHODES at Whitworth.edu.
And I will put that in when it goes live
Okay.
so people can reach Rosetta. She's, as you've heard, ladies and gentlemen, this woman is amazing, and she has built, as she will deflect all the attention to herself from herself, but she's built an incredible program at a very small school in Spokane, Washington, and they are doing some amazing, amazing things. So I want to thank you again, Rosetta, for being here and showing us that this there's a sense of belonging just doesn't happen. It
Right.
just doesn't happen. And it has to be a conscious effort to have a heart for students. And I love that statement that you made. Well, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about out of time. You can see this podcast, see this show on my podcast, Life Altering Events. It'll be on my YouTube channel. It'll be on Parade Deck. And I'll also send links to Rosetta, and she can post them anywhere she puts out her information. If you use my YouTube channel, please subscribe. And let me leave you with this as I do every week. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Rosetta showed us where many of those rocks are. Join me again next week. We look at another life altering event. Rosetta, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank.